This episode is brought to you by Rick's Eyewear. Eyewear that inspires confidence. If you would like to buy some premium eyewear, sunglasses, blue light frames, prescription, head online now, rickseyewear.com.au and check it out. Caps has been Australia's home of headwear since 2012. From snapback to fitted, curve peak to flat peak, our hats will fit anyone and everyone. Since then, we've grown and evolved into the leaders of US sports apparel in Australia. Head online at caps.com.au and check it out. Righto, let's get into the show. Well, today we're joined by sports management royalty. The tram meets the train. It's been a while since I've seen the great man here. If anyone listening doesn't know who they're looking at right now, Paul Connors from Connors Sports Management joins us today. Paulie, welcome to the Tommy Talks podcast.
Well, thanks for having us. I'm a bit flat off the top that it's taking you so long to get me on. But, you know, we'll cope that I'm 158th guest, but, you know, bring it on.
I made sure, you know this, I made sure that before I do any agents, whether they're American, Australian, you're the man, you did manage me, and you are the best in the business.
Did you knock back Rich Paul to, you know, have me on before?
He's on next. But I am very grateful for your time. I will touch on Connors Sports Management, just for everyone that doesn't know who you are, which would be quite surprising, but they might be into other sports. Connors Sports Management, established in 1999. Connors Sports Management continues to strive for excellence in the field of AFL Player Management. Services include contract negotiation, which, mind you, is your bread and butter, tax and financial planning, banking and property, the share market, marketing and promotions, and education. So you do it all. Speaking of market, what is the like market size that you reckon the market share, that Connors would have right now with players?
Well, we've got about 100 players, so I am an accountant, so I should be able to work that out. How many AFL players are there running around these days? But, you know, a good number, 100's good, and, you know, we're really happy with where we're at.
You call it boutique.
Boutique, yeah.
That's a bit bigger than boutique. I mean, it is. There's a players a boutique. Yeah. Very good.
We like to call it boutique, family owned, and we're really happy with that word boutique.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that one.
We're just refreshing the website, and we'll keep running with that boutique word.
The website is good. I must say, it's very handy, mate. Let's start with the nickname. Tommy Lynch asked. A few people asked, but the great man wrote in last night on the questions, and thanks for sharing. He said, "Why is your nickname the Tram?"
Well, I've got about 38 nicknames, but that's one that's stuck recently. The Tram meets the train, which is very good.
That might be the name of this podcast.
It was an AFL Nines analogy that we had the boat. The boat's very big too in AFL Nines. The boat, Ricky Lines, the steamboat, he runs pretty slowly straight. I certainly not agile, and I just run straight. So I'm the Tram. We do have a train. Yeah. The forward line's got the train, the boat, and the tram.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's sort of where it's grown, and a little bit of social, a little bit of Instagram, and it's just run from there.
So no turning circle. The turning circle of a tram is that so just straight line?
Yeah.
Just on the footy, I've heard that you've kicked a few bags down at Xavier back in the day. So the Tram used to come out hot out of the square, didn't he?
I was in the twos, mind you.
No, who cares? The twos, we've all played twos.
Let's not the good story get in the way of the facts. But no, I played twos at Xavier. Thought I was stiff. I did kick a bag a few weeks in a row, and big Friday game coming up against Halaby, and Friday games were special. You got out of school. And big Domberry, you wouldn't know him, but he got the call up as a year 10. He went on to play for Hawthorn and others, but I was a bit disillusioned down in the twos. So I didn't play a senior game.
How many did you kick?
Oh, that was just school. But then when I actually made the Old Zavs first, role players become a big thing these days. I reckon there's 95% role players and 5% guns. And I was a good, honest role player in the forward pocket. I didn't kick too many.
Oh, you're talking yourself down. You are a very humble man. I heard Paul used to kick bags on bags every week down there. Mate, what have you been up to? Before we get into everything about you and your life, and a lot of people listening will really draw upon this for some advice, but what have you been up to, mate? You just got back from the Gold Coast. I noticed you played a bit of golf up there. How'd you hit them?
Well, I've been to the Gold Coast the last... I went for a golf trip 6 weeks ago. It got cancelled. There was that much rain. Went back again to Burleigh. Beautiful Burleigh, but it rained again it was for the under-16 national champs. And then the last 4 days, just bang. It was only 18 degrees, 17 degrees, but the sun was out and I was out and I was just gammering up. And
I can you would have had the rig out for sure, getting a little
had the refoil out, factor 6. But that's what I've been doing.
Under 16s carnival, were there any little trains running around on halfback,
There was no Tommy Sheridans. I did say there was no Ben or Max King, but there was a few little nuggets.
It is interesting because when you're watching the 16s, they are so raw. What are you looking for? Are you looking for little spurts? Or what?
That's it. There's about 10 on the bench and they're rotating squads. So just moments.
So a hanger would be like, whoa. Like Will Hoskin-Elliott, for example. I remember he was one of those players. Yep. He would just do some incredible stuff. Wouldn't say he had 30 every game, but he just did freakish stuff. And
still what he does, isn't it?
He does what he does
comes
now.
Out and he'll win a Norm Smith as opposed to a Best and Fairest.
Yeah.
Great Will.
And you can see why he's touted so highly. You can see what he does in the...
And then they've got to back it up. Can they run? Are they athletic? Are they, Yeah, and the smalls are coming back into vogue, so the height's not as worrying as much as it was in the past.
Oh, so they're saying they don't need the tools as much now.
Like Caleb Daniels probably just gone whack. He's brought it all for everyone. There's a kid, Nikki Watson, who's running around for Eastern Rangers and Caulfield Grammar, and he goes well too as a mid-sized forward. Yeah,
it's good to know. There you go, the little smalls coming in. If you're a little midget out there, it's because they used to say too small back in my day. Now it doesn't really matter, which is great.
You wear a gun, by the way.
I used to go, right?
Did anyone know that? Like now,
I don't think everyone knows I used to get a kick. I haven't had a kick since I was 16, I reckon, mate.
Very good. Very good.
I do appreciate that, mate. It's been a while since I got a polish. Now let's go. I want to go right back to the start.
Yep.
You are the best in the business. I know you're not going to, you're very humble, so you won't talk on that, but I'm saying that. Everyone else has said that. So if you're the best in the business, I want to know where it all started. So let's just go right back to you growing up. Where'd you grow up as a kid?
Wow, let's go back.
Yeah, let's go right. No one's gone back that far.
No, they always just go back.
They go to Ricky Nixon.
Yeah, there.
That's halfway, mate.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up?
Go up. Well, give them a little, secret away. I'm 53, so it goes back to 1969. I grew up in Brighton, actually, which is you've got to get a passport out of Brighton these days. It's quite interesting to reflect on some of the boys who are still there. I go shivers. I played footy. One, Nick McKim just reached out and said who was the best. We call it the Windermere Football League. So we lived in Brighton. We had this footy league across the road from where we grew up, Brighton Beach Primary. It was serious stuff on a Sunday. He thinks he was the MVP. There were a couple other really good players back then. And so that's where I grew up and played cricket across the road at the neighbours. Just loved it. Loved my cricket. Still love cricket probably more than footy. Still play cricket, actually.
The Glen Iris Cricket Club will feature later. They got a few questions to ask you later.
Yeah, I can't get a run there, but I think I'm under pressure there. But
what do you like? Are you a batter or a bowler?
I think I buy my way out. I'm like I buy the team, so I can't. You can't get in trouble.
Yeah.
No, I'm a fielder and a talker. No, just a talker.
Oh, we need them in slips.
Yeah.
We need them.
I actually keep, but we'll get to that.
Oh, there you go. Next to it.
So I grew up in Brighton, went to school, Brighton. My mum and dad were, huge into the church and went to St. Joan of Arc's primary school, off to Cosca Hall, which was Xavier's junior school in Brighton. Sadly, just sold recently, and it just sold. It was in the papers on the weekend. It was, to all of us who went to Cosca, and my two sons went there, and my brothers went there, and my brothers' kids went there. It's bloody sad, actually, but it's moving with it. And then went up to Xavier and studied, accounting. I certainly wasn't a great accountant, but it certainly put me in good stead. I think it's what set me apart. You talk about, what's the difference? It's probably the accounting background, the finance background.
Talk to me about Xavier. So I've only ever seen videos. It's always kids.
You haven't been there?
No, I've never really been there. I played school footy, but not in that, obviously, in that
You're
league.
An age, yes.
I didn't get a chance, but I had mates that played in it and they talked about the culture and, all the chanting. And you see videos now because of these TikToks that are out and it's quite amazing.
No,
really.
It's fantastic culture. And some schools are actually trying to stop the chanting. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? They're good. They're clever. Xavier gets it. The teachers, they have guys who get a red jacket. You would have got the red jacket, mate. You would have been, if all any Xavier guys listening, Tom, you would have been cheers. Well, your problem was you would have been playing in most of the sports, but if you weren't, let's say it was a sport you're no good, you would have been the cheer squad leader.
Oh, is it the cheer squad leader?
Yeah,
right.
And you would have been A1, but you've got to be clever, which you are, and you've got to have chants that are funny and take the P15 out of the opposition without being rude because you've got teachers right next to you. And I was speaking to one of the big bosses over, and he's like, they are like as big a leader as the captain of the school. It's like,
well, they are. They bring the energy.
Yeah, and I love it. I bring people sometimes, hey, come and watch this game. Might be Melbourne Grammar Scotch. It's coming up. I don't know when this podcast is out, but that'll be a Thursday afternoon at Scotch. It'll be electric. And, that means everything. And then Zavs is versus Scavs. And they're awesome.
How many do they get to these games?
If the one biggest issue, if the powers that be are listening, there should be a grand final. If we had a grand final for the APS this year, there'd be 5,000 people there.
Yeah, and they'd be going wild.
Yeah, whereas it's now like the EPL. You lose and you're in trouble. Yeah. So it's a ruthless competition.
It is.
Good players.
Yeah, they are. And there's a lot of good players that come out of it. I know that I played with a lot of Calder Cannons. We used to get them all back for TSC Cup. So we lose them for the year and we get them all back. And it's a strong comp. And being the American Aces, we are an American and Australian sports club. And it's got a bit of an American college feel to it, the way Xavier carry on. And it's great. I think we need more of it. I think the footy, we need more of it at AFL standard as well. But that's kind of what that's why I love NFL and college sports so much. Is
how good's college?
Well, just before the game, they all get together. If you actually break it down, they all get to, they all get plastered, but they all get to connect, and then they stroll in. I don't even think they drink in the stadium. They're not allowed to.
But the chanting and the
atmosphere
is awesome, isn't it?
Through the roof.
Yeah, I'd love to. I haven't been to a college game like that, but I'd love to go.
Well, Penn State, you should try to get to that. I haven't been there, but they're the one that just load up with all white and 100,000.
Fantastic.
It's like Xavier times a million.
It is.
Back to study. So when you said you studied accounting,
yep.
Like at school, you mean?
No, accounting. I did at school, but then I went and did a Bachelor of Business at, it was called Chisholm then. It's called Monash now, but I always like to, people who went to Monash in my day, they go, I went to Monash, but it was really Chisholm. It was a poor man's, Monash, but I like to still say I went to Chisholm.
Blue collar,
but now they call it, I went to Monash. I went, no, you didn't. You went to Chisholm.
Little reality check. We love that.
And so I went there. Then I travelled overseas in 1990. It was actually a big recession. Like we had I call it, people say we're in a recession now. I'm like, a mini recession. Then it was big and couldn't get a job. I went and actually painted for Harry the Hirer. I don't even know they'd know that. I lasted about 3 days and like, this is not for you, sir. I got my marching orders pretty quick.
That's good though. Try it and get out.
Yeah, I was no good at that. And lucky enough, I worked for my now wife's dad in an accounting firm, and they had the accounts like Eastern. Remember Gary Ablett Senior wore the Eastern Footy Clubs? Well, they were good for. They were big in cricket, but mainly baseball in the States, and so I did the auditing for them, auditing for Gray Nichols and Kookaburra.
Oh yeah,
which was pretty cool. And I went to actually go look at the Gray Nichols store. Because I'd done the audit, I went and bought it at a charity, a tour of Gray Nichols, just to go back for memory's sake, because I used to count the bats. And yeah, it's good.
That's awesome. So you kind of got a little fix in the sport without, by accident, really, by dealing with cricket club, the best bats in the world, but you love your cricket. And then
it was a bit different just counting every Kookaburra ball and making sure that 136 agreed with their number. But then, got a call from a couple of good mates, Andy Gowers and Scott McGuinness, got me in to run Hawthorn's footy trip. Okay, so imagine that.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah, so you imagine the Giants or Freo, now getting an outsider to come in and run party. So I ran a huge party at Glenferrie Oval. It was called the Mad Hatters Party, and anyone who was there will remember it. They'll all be about my age or younger. They might be 40 to 50. One of the great, functions, like huge party on. And so I ran functions for them, went on their footy trip.
Oh, so you were the chaperone?
Yeah, well, not really.
Yeah,
I nearly won the yellow jersey. I was only on there for 4 days and I was 8 days.
Oh, so that is brilliant.
Yeah, so I became really close to Jason Dunstall and he recommended me to Ricky and I started working for Flying Start.
So that's where it all began. So
Ricky was planning on having this big party with Craig Kelly down at the Sheds. I think it was 96 after the Ansett Cup. Yeah, maybe it was 97. It was after the pre-season, had this big party. It didn't go as well as we'd like, but I was in there to come and help. And and then I think I offered to resign to Ricky the next day and kept me on and worked for him for 3 years.
There you go, because that was where the gap was. With all the stories I'd listened to, it was always that's where they start. But I wanted to know where you met Ricky Nixon, and that was when he was at
He's
his
big.
prime.
Yeah. He had Club 10. So I sat in a meeting. One of the biggest meetings I've ever sat into is, a Club 10 meeting in Kings Way, South Melbourne, and Gary Ablett's there and Wayne Carey's there, and Tony Lockett had come in with his manager. Tony Modra had come from Adelaide with his manager. Glenn Jakovich came over from Perth. It's pretty big.
So what was Club 10 for everyone
Club
that
10
doesn't
was
know?
a joint, it was a combined marketing. So, go back in time, and Ricky's always talked about this, he was really ahead of the game. He was technically, really, really on the money. And it was a group marketing rights. So, and they signed Foxtel. It was big. I don't know if you remember an iconic photo of Dunstall, Ablett and Lockett in the middle of Burke Street with
seen
Foxtel. It's a great shot.
Yeah. And that generated more money than anyone would have imagined back then.
Big deals. We did footy clinics for Foxtel. It was and bigger. Do you know what I mean?
Did that change the game, you reckon?
Well, it did, because Ricky went to war with the AFL for player rights and image rights, and then Craig Kelly jumped into bed with the AFL and started a company called Pro Squad. So it was the winners were the players.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
down the track, the players have been the winner from that fight back in 97, 98.
There you go. Ricky Nixon, we'll talk about him a little bit. It's more about you today, but he's a fascinating kind of guy. I don't know much about him. When you first met him, what was he like?
Well, he was just ahead of the game, and he was an entrepreneur, and he wanted to take on the world, and pretty gutsy. He took on the AFL. Jeff Brown, who's now the president of Collingwood, was the lawyer for the AFL, and he was a heavy, and Ricky went head to head with him and took him on, and in many respects won.
Yeah, it's incredible effort, isn't it?
Incredible.
And the players he had, how many would he have on the books?
Oh, shivers. Was it 60 back then? Maybe more.
Yeah.
But they were big names.
Yeah.
And he was good. He was good on contracts. He was a forward thinker. Yeah, it's probably time. Like I've mentioned him elsewhere as being good.
Is that where you learn a fair bit?
Yeah, definitely learned. But one of the things I learned is that I when I left a few years later. It caused a bit of angst between Ricky and I, but I wanted to stick to my lane and just do football. So that's what one of the things was learned, just do footy.
Just purely AFL.
Purely AFL. And just that's what I know, and that's what I love, and that's what and we call it sticking to your lane, and that's what we've done.
Yeah. Before we move on from Ricky, so you were there for 3 years?
Yep.
So over those 3 year, that 3 year period, what was the greatest thing that you reckon you learnt?
Oh, it's the whole Club 10 image rights and marketing and how to do a contract, really. I thought Ricky was at the top of the game.
And you would oversee all of these things?
No, I was just a little minion trying to learn and nip away. And
little apprentice.
Yeah, little apprentice.
Mix the mud, little bricklayer at the back, just little apprentice, mix the mud.
That's all I was doing. I was just trying to learn.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, and this is, a lot of people, and this is fantastic because everyone's been in this position. You want to leave. You've got relationships with players, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And you do leave.
Yeah.
How hard was that?
It was really hard because, fundamentally, I think I'm really loyal.
You are.
Yeah, but Ricky and I, we would have fought, fight over that. But, it just comes to a stage where I want to go left and do what I want to do. And Ricky was adamant this is the way we did. We butted heads for a minute. And, when I left, I wrote on my business plan. So it wasn't that well thought out. So it wasn't like, I'm thinking of this forever. My business plan was a napkin with 10 names on it.
Yeah.
I think these 10 names might come with me. 5 didn't. 5 did. So it wasn't, wow, this is going to just happen. And, I've spoken to everyone.
Yeah.
But, it was September 6th. 1999. So I know the date. It's like, I don't know how long ago it was. It's 23 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago,
It feels like yesterday. It was pretty on. Yeah.
When you wrote those names down, do you remember all 10?
I don't remember all 10.
Remember the 5 that come? You obviously would.
Oh, well.
The big names.
Some of the names were, I know I had Marcus Baldwin on there. He's now a coach down at Old Zavs. But I thought I'd get him and he might keep Trent Crowe because he'd give Crody a lot of love, but Jace McCartney was one who you've dealt with at the Giants, and Shane O'Brien, Matty Scarlett. I reckon they were some good names came in the end.
Yeah, that's big.
But Darren Milburn, Brad Lloyd was one of the first to come with me, and Angelo Lekis. There are a couple who didn't come, Chris Massey and Paul Lecure and Ben Matthews, and they all had their reasons. Now I'm really close to.
Do you ever laugh about that still?
Yeah, I've sort of in the past I have. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So you've made that move to start. It's well documented because you've done other interviews, but you really took a huge risk here, didn't you?
I had no idea what I was doing, really. And, my son, my eldest boy, Charlie, was born October 99. So therefore my wife's just given up work. We're about to have a kid. I certainly, I literally had no idea what I was doing.
Most people don't. That's the beautiful thing about when you start a business. You got no idea, but you do now.
Yeah.
You had to. Yeah, there's a few sacrifices. You had to sell your house.
Yeah, because even if players came with us, with me at that stage, I remember having a work experience kid, Matty Gretrix. I reckon Matty was the first one, and I think they rang Flying Start, hey, can we do that? Can we do that work experience? No, Paul's left, so get on your bike. And a mate of ours, Ado McCorkle, had organised it through his dad in the meat game. And so he came. I reckon we spent 80% of the week down at the Brighton bars hanging bombs and getting the sun, as we love, and talking about the 6 players that we managed. So
that's funny. So you're obviously waiting around. I know the feeling, mate, sometimes.
Yeah, and sold the house because even if a player left, we still had to pay money for the contracts that they owed.
When you say that, or was that just the commission owed?
Yeah, so if Brad Lloyd came with us and he had 2 years left at Hawthorn, well, that money was going to Ricky.
Oh, right.
He could come to us, but if Ricky and Flying Start had done the contract, well, the money had to flow.
So you essentially had to fulfill all their contracts. Ricky would get that cash, and then once their contracts were out, then you'd renegotiate. Then you'd start your business.
Yeah.
Your cash flow would probably start.
Yeah. So cash flow for year one was probably, $22,000 if I was lucky.
Wow.
So sold the house in Seddon over your way, Yarra, just next to Footscray, Seddon Street, Seddon. Great house.
That area is booming now.
Booming,
isn't it?
I know. I'm like,
you should have held on to it, mate.
That's the first mistake. Yeah. And then had to go rent for a fair few years too.
Yeah,
but that's good.
Yeah, it is good, and it's a part of the pains growing up. Now you did have a plan though. Right, and there's there's a big there's a man I want to talk about, John Turnbull.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about John early days, but where did John fit in Connor's sports management back in this time?
Oh, it's great that you've mentioned his name because I don't think I've given him enough credit. Like personally, I have, and I just rang him the other week actually because
he's a great man.
He's a great man. And he's called JT, and even on the weekend I was up in Gold Coast, we were doing a couple of them were doing a few impersonations of you, JT. He used to have this notebook where he'd draw diagrams. I don't know if he ever sat with you and was recruiting and did diagrams of it. He just was. So Jay, I wasn't that close to Johnny when he was the head honcho of Hawthorn who had to decide between Hodge, Judd and Borley. I was lucky enough that I didn't have to decide between them, but he did, and he chose Luke Hodge, and I think history is going to judge it as a pretty good pick. I don't think Hawthorn were that happy with him for that pick after Juddy won a Brownlow after 3 years. But he then went and worked for Adelaide and then Melbourne, and we got talking and he did some part-time work for us. Wow, he's been amazing. He set up the business, really. He did a lot of good things for our business.
So he was scouting for you.
Yeah, he was ahead of the pack.
Yeah.
He'd say, hey, Paul, I've just seen Dale Thomas take this guy for Gippsland's taking this huge hanger. He's a player. When you just talk about the 16 just moments?
Yeah.
Well, JT knew more than us. And now it's a bit different. Everyone's a bit bloodthirsty. They're watching him, a lot earlier. But then, you could see a player who was bottom age. Well, no one's even dreamt of speaking to him. So JT, Paddy Ryder, Gary Gibson, you would know. Harry Taylor played for East Fremantle. Bang. There's that Josh Kelly from. I remember him talking about Josh, and I think he got on well with Phil, great, because they were technically talking about him playing high half forward at Dragons, the bottom major, and just the work he saw that he did, he just goes, he's a player. So
pretty much JT was just an unbelievable scout before his time, and obviously there's not as much video like back then, so it's a real word of mouth, and he'd be calling you and saying...
he worked for us, let's say, 2 to 3 days a week.
What, when you started, like 99?
No, not when we started. No, it was down the track.
So he's down the track.
He's down the track. He's not straight away. Straight away, it's It's just me.
Just you.
Yeah, but fast forward 5 years into it.
Right.
JT's memory's probably better, but call it 2004, 2005, I don't know.
Yep.
But when he leaves Hawthorn, so I don't know when he left Hawthorn, but he would, but let's call it 2005.
Was he the list manager at Hawthorn and then got in trouble? Not got in trouble, but people kind of held him accountable to taking Hodge.
Yeah.
So he got the flick because he took Hodge.
There'll be a little
Luke Hodge. He's got the flick because he took Luke Hodge over Chris
And he
Judd.
took Luke McFarlane. Like, I reckon he's better picks Luke McFarlane. He chose Luke McFarlane. I reckon he had the binoculars out. This is the old school. He watched him at school athletics with the binoculars doing high jump and long jump and saw him play one game for East Freehour, and he's like, he's our boy.
Yeah.
And picked him, not just picked him, but picked him at, in the first 15 picks. So, he's got good eyes.
He's a good draft.
He's a good draft, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. This is why I've gone a bit ahead of that. But 2001 draft, this was a big moment for you and your business.
Yeah.
You've identified that this is a huge draft and there's a lot of talent. You went 1, 2, 3, 4 in your second year or third year on your own.
Jimmy Bartel 8, maybe.
Jimmy Bartel 8. How dare I? So
Bartel was all right.
You've lined them all up. You've signed them all up. They've all gone early. Surely everyone around the league's going, who the fuck's this Paul Connors bloke? Because he's killing it.
Well, so gets back to the Xavier connection. I'd managed Matt Ball, knew the Ball family well. So Luke was not easy, but relationship worked well. Then Chris Judd was another one that I don't think Juddy met with anyone in the end. I managed Steve Green, so I always say to Greenie, Greenie from Jagged and Stephen Green, he basically, I call it, made my business. He'd love that, but it's true. I would say, mate, like he was besties with Juddy back then.
Oh, so they're best mates, right?
Yeah, still best mates. So he introduced me to Juddy. I think one agency he had a few injuries back then. One company might have got his injury wrong and wrote him a letter. But I certainly worked hard. Andy from Sandy and Lisa, his mum, we built a relationship and, we're still great mates and still help him today. Well, actually not anymore because he's too clever for me.
Doesn't need any more money.
And then Hodgie, I reckon, met with 6 or 7 agents and it was down to John Longmire and I. Johnny Longmire coach of Swans, used to be
Was he a player agent?
He was a player agent for IMG.
Used to be a scary player agent, wasn't he?
So it came down to it and my pitch was, I reckon he's a better bloke than me, but I reckon I'm stronger financially. And someone had questioned my finances. I don't know who it was. And I'm like, pick me on anything, my footy knowledge and all of that stuff. Just don't pick on the finance stuff because I was an accountant.
Bread and butter.
Yeah, it was my bread and butter. Even though I wasn't a great accountant, I was better than most people. So I said, my sell was to Leanne Hodge, Bryson Hodge and Hodgie was that I reckon, my gut feel is that I wasn't bagging Johnny. I was just saying, I reckon he's going to be a coach. I reckon he's going to be a great coach. Well, I didn't say he's going to be a great coach. I just said, I think he's going to go into coaching and I'm going to be in this for the long haul. He's certainly been a pretty good coach, hasn't he?
Well, you've done well. You was a great coach and you are in for the long haul.
He's probably a lot happier doing that than doing what we're doing.
So you and obviously you've got Jimmy Bartel and Polak.
Polak was a gun. He was the best hands in the business and just an amazing story and his family and he obviously got hit by the tram and he's just blossoming over in Perth with Elise and the family. And I saw him in a past players Freo event probably a year or two ago. He looks great, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks great. I know his nephew quite well. Reed, he's a good man.
Do you know little?
Yeah, I know Reed really well. Yeah. He smacks a golf ball. Yeah. Big rooster.
Yeah, big rooster. Done
a photo shoot for Ricks. He's a good,
Has he?
Yeah. Small world over in Perth.
Well, I'm following Reed on Insta.
He's a really good person.
Footballer, Reed, growing up.
Yeah.
Trust me, under 12, under 13s, we had big plans for Reed.
Yeah, you would have signed him up early, wouldn't you? Well, just on that, how old were Juddy and Hodgie and Bally and all that when you signed them?
Hodgie was... I remember seeing Hodgie as a 16-year-old and he was good back then. But they were all, I reckon... Top age, because...
Oh, so you got him 17-year-old?
17, 18.
Yep.
Yeah, Juddy was older. I think Bally could go in the draft, but Bally was still at school when he was year 11. He was young and then did year 12 when he was first year at the Saints. Yeah.
Oh, wow, so he was studying and playing.
So it was this sort of like when we were born, I think they had till June, so Hodgie might have been drafted as a 17-year-old and turned 18 June that year. Luke might have been April. Yeah, I probably got that wrong, but I know that Juddy's the oldest of those three.
Well, Watsy was like that, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Watsy was still playing school.
Should have stayed. It's another story, but he should have stayed playing school all that year in my book.
Yeah.
which Luke did, but he got injured and did his.
Wardy was the same. Cal Ward, was he at school?
He was 18.
I thought he was at school when he was at the Dogs.
He could have been. Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, he was.
Because he was going to he tells a few funny stories how he's going to him.
But he wasn't playing school footy.
Right, yeah, he was just playing at the Dogs.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So you've got them. That's a huge moment. What was the press like? What was the noise like? Did you feel like you've arrived and that all this is starting to become the reality that you thought it was?
Maybe I did, because I did take a deep breath. Now we're nearly guilty of just signing a player and, going, not – because it's bloody hard. It's the hardest part. When I signed you, I took the team out for a steak and shouted the
company card, let's go again. I was pretty easy. I went easy on you. I took 2 meals and I said, let's go. Where's the dotted line?
Yeah, exactly.
Some players, actually, this is funny. Yeah. Some players milk that company card, don't they? Yeah, and then they don't sign. Actually, I want to call Hayden Crozier out because I know he milked your card. He milked about 5 and then he signed.
I went to Brisbane to try and sign Hayden. I went and watched Mason under the guise of Mason was playing under 19s and went and saw Crows. He's had a great career, Crows.
He's still going. And I just remember because we used to always talk about the stories with all the management groups calling you, especially top age. And it was always you'd have a really impressive pitch and then you'd tell them who you're speaking to and next minute, you're rocking up and there's a big superstar there. And I mean, Hayden Skipworth was a really good moment for me. I love Skip and I just loved he was just a really nice guy. Is he still, what
Skip's doing? He's working so he was, at Essendon for a while and then had a little interim break and just did a little bit of mentoring for a few of my players. And we've got a great relationship today. I just felt like I lacked just that little gap. So JT had moved on and Skip just had this beautiful way, and he still does. He's the forward line coach at the Pies.
He's at the Pies.
He's one of the most experienced coaches now, I reckon, for his age. And I think he's loving it at the Pies with Fly and the team. And, he's doing a good job. Yeah,
well, he was great. And I can see why he is. He's such a lovable guy and he's just a relaxed guy, wasn't he? Sometimes when you're young, they do throw a lot at you and you're only 17. You don't know what's going on. But he was really good. So it's a good move there from Paulie Connors to get blokes like him involved. The next question I want to ask before we ask all the other questions later on, but we know what you do, but expanding your business. I'm very lucky to have been signed by you and met the people in your office. But how have you, for any business, it's hard to select the right people. What's your criteria when you sit down with Mal and Robbie and Georgie and the likes? There's a few more now that I've moved on.
Well, go back in time. The Clark family introduced me to Lucy Mills.
That's right.
And Lucy was with our company for 10 years and still doing great things. She manages Goodsey and Beck Jarden and a number of others. But Lucy was with us for 10 years. And at one stage, and the boys actually tell the girls more, as you would know from Mel. Mel worked with us for 10 years. And we've always found that affinity with the girls. At one stage, it was Camberwell High because we've got Georgie Gardner who works with us who went to Camberwell High. Then also Mel.
Yeah.
I think Mel was the skipper of Camberwell High.
It's a little gem there at Camberwell High.
And Robbie's story, so Robbie's a business partner now and it's a bit well known. He annoyed me for about 2 years to try and get a job and I'd always say no. I liked the JT side but Stephen Ick and a couple of others. Do you remember Stephen Ick? He was a footy manager of Carlton. He was a footy manager of Freo. He's now down at Frankston doing some good work. He said, yeah, absolutely, Robbie, you've got to go down this route. And then Ian Prendergast said it, and then a guy's been a mentor. So when I got walked out of Flying Start, it was a bit of goldfish moment. It's a guy called Andrew Neofitu. And Neo's been a mentor for mine for 20 years. And I remember workshopping it with Neo too. He's gone from walking me out of Ricky Nixon to, telling me go get Robbie and
walking someone back in.
Walking someone in, yeah.
That's great. It's the right person to do that.
Yeah.
So that's obviously, when did Robbie join the business?
I think 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago.
And did he bring players with him as a bit of a...
Yeah, but not many. Yeah, well, actually, when he did, but I didn't know him that well, and I've sort of talked about it. It was Trent Dumont, but it's George Hewitt, who's now gone. No one would have known George a year ago. Now he's at the Mighty Blues, and everyone knows how good he is.
Yep.
Brody Grundy, Tom Sheed. So I had some players, but they were all babies back then. They were all 1-2 years into the game, and a lot of them turned out really well.
Did you have a lot of people knocking on the door saying, I want to be a part of this? This is special.
Not in 1999.
Yeah, of course not.
Didn't have a friend in the world.
2001 would have been a different story.
Yeah, me and Mel. No, early I did. So what happened was Neo must have left Ricky and he went to, Neo was still, maybe he did leave and he went to SEL, Sports Entertainment Limited, which is James Erskine, and they managed Shane Warne. And back then they were big, and this guy, Basil Scafidi and a few others, and they came knocking to want to not buy, but get me to work for them. And it was the best move I've made. Like, no offense to them because they were stars, but it was the best thing I did was say, no, and it was a bit of stress, no house, wife, no jobs, no money. And to say no, because it was pretty attractive and they were really good company.
Yeah. But
I went, no, I'll just dig in here and see where I go.
Yeah. When did Lucy join?
Joined pretty early because Luce came in as a work placement from Deakin. So, Luce came when I was working in Mail Street, Brighton, out the back, and even not just, I was out the back office. So Luce would have been there, 2000, 2001.
Oh, wow. So she was there early days.
Early, yeah.
So is that what happened? You got someone off placement to come help out, and you're helping them with their experience.
And then so placement finishes, stays 2 days a week, finishes course, bang, there's a job here. We've signed a few extras, Bally, and there's help that needs a few more of come across. And
was she predominantly working in like that admin, relationships with players?
I think when you're that small, you just do everything.
Yeah.
So when you're a small business, which boutique, which we like to call, you're still doing everything. So it's like, well, I've got a motto, no job's too big, no job's too small. And Luce was fantastic for us.
Yeah, she was. And I remember Gary Ibbotson used to speak really highly of her. I think she left the year I got there because I remember the Christmas party, I reckon. Yeah. But mind you, the Paul Connors Christmas party, Connors Management, it's got me in trouble, I reckon, my first year. I was more keen on the Christmas party than the pre-season. I think Ross Lyon really liked these players flying back from WA for a Christmas party.
No.
But I definitely enjoyed that. But yeah, back to the criteria. You just said placement, Mel, Georgie, all these other people have come through. Was Mel the same?
Mel actually did a AFL traineeship. So she's at Camberwell. We'd moved offices from Mail Street, Brighton to Hawthorn Road, East Brighton. And Mel tells the story that, she was on I gave her a whack after about 3 months that she was on, on the phone too much. And she did a 1-year AFL traineeship. And then she did her course part-time. Now I'm saying to Mel, if Mel had have done her course, then tried to apply, she just wouldn't have got, it'd be hard. It's bloody hard now. And I get a lot of, we try and do see a lot of people and catch up with a lot of people and talk to them about their wish to get into the industry. But certainly Mel did it, in hindsight, the right way. It was an accident, but she just wasn't ready to go into uni. She had a big year, obviously, at year 12, and she was great. And she has this ability to relate to people and has a wonderful, care element to her.
Yeah. Oh, she's great.
Now she's gone on to bigger things.
Oh, mate, I must say, you shouldn't have let her go. You know how much I love Mel, but she has gone off.
She's gone off to working for Mercedes Formula One. I think she probably wins.
Yeah, I think she's won that. She's for anyone out there, Mel is now working at Mercedes in the F1 and looks after Lewis Hamilton and was actually looking after Tom Brady not long ago and sending me videos. And I said, oh, Mel, honestly, you're living the dream. Yeah. But she was wonderful and she's so good for that. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Connors Sports Management. You had such a diverse, portfolio, I guess. We could go anywhere. Everyone was such great people. And that's why I wanted to ask you, what was the criteria? Because any business struggles to get the right people in the door. And you've done really well. So I just want to say
and when you're a small business, it's really important that
we can't make that mistake.
No.
What has been the most rewarding thing about being a player agent, you think?
I think it's just the people, and the players you've managed over, so long and where they end up. I mean, 1 minute you're signing them as 17-year-olds and the next they've got 4 kids. So it's like, wow, where'd the time go? And whether we just talked about Stephen Green, what he's doing with his company Jagged and then there's others who are just, going so well and just so proud of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
And others aren't. It's a tough, when the lights finish, it's difficult.
It is hard. I mean, it's a big transition.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going through that still now. I've got a few things that I luckily started when I was there, but it's more to, it's a different world.
Yeah, and I always tell people, while you're in the job, network and keep talking to the people, because once the lights finish, it's harder for you to go and have a meeting with the boss of Giants than it is when you're now, or the Fremantle head of the president of Fremantle. It's like he'll have a meeting with a player tomorrow, but if you're finished, it's just sort of how
it's good that you say that. I say that to players all the time. That it's just easier. You're obviously around. You've got the logo. It's just easier to get that coffee if you need it. And players don't really they probably take it for granted a little bit.
Yep.
And they probably see it when they walk out. Is there anything else that you've noticed that players struggle with when they come out of the game?
I know it's just bouncing into another job. Like Josh Jenkins just retired at the end of the year. I mean, there's no person who's done it better nearly. He's just rolled the sleeves up. You'll look at his Instagram. He's driving down the road from Geelong at 4:30 in the morning. He must have, Hannah, his wife, just ridiculously supportive. But he's just like, okay, there's no time. I've got to get into it. And, from a work ethic, I love work ethic. You give me work ethic and you'll get a job. Anyone who's got work ethic is going to get a job. And he epitomises work ethic for me.
Yeah. No, it's great. Let's go to players that you've got. You've got so many players. I couldn't just name them off, but I want you to sugarcoat this segment. Okay. I want you to name some of the biggest names that you've managed and still do manage, just to give people an insight on the personnel that you've looked after. I mean, you mentioned Adam Goodes before. I only watched his documentary for a second time Sunday night with my mate. Yeah. You've had some amazing people you've had to manage. Do you want to just name?
Oh, if you go back in time, but Adam's as big as there is, isn't there? Matty Scarlett, I'd hate to think how many All-Australians he's won. Dean Cox is a beauty. He was a ripper, the call at the day I got, because he was a bit later. He was a rookie. And and then you go Juddy and Hodgie, obviously, but I always get a bit modest about this stuff.
I know. Well, Patrick Dangerfield's on your cover. Charlie Kernow's there as well.
Charlie's going okay.
He'll win the Coleman this year.
Yeah, he could. Paddy's an 8-time All-Australian. I mean, to win 8 All-Australians, like, wow.
Yeah.
But, some of the people we've just mentioned, they're better blokes nearly than they are footballers. It must be a correlation, just wonderful people. And that's the beauty of the job. You get to see everyone there. They're all not the same. Some are quiet, and that's what you've seen. I think someone like you needed to go to a couple of clubs so people saw what a ripper you are. But it's good, isn't it? Footy clubs they're great.
Yeah. It is. That's probably the best thing that got to happen. You're devastated, you get cut, but then you meet the Giants and their family and their people, and you go, oh, that's actually a blessing.
Yeah, and you're going to walk away. Normal people walk away with about 5 solid friends. You're probably at 15.
When you talk shit all the time, mate, hopefully you got a few more.
Yeah.
Eddie, you've got to, there's more players there. You just got to Google
Tommy Sheridan,
who you've managed and who you've got. I noticed you've got Damien Hardwick, who's a AFL coach. Do you have any other coaches?
Well, we Izzy Hardwick works for us as a superstar on the rise. So we've got a strong affinity with females. They must be better workers. They're better at detail than the blokes. I've just got Brett Ratton and Dimmer.
There you go.
Only 2 coaches.
So you got Brett
two
Ratton.
Senior coaches.
Does that make, is there a conflict of interest?
Player wins.
Player wins?
Yeah, player wins. I tell the coaches, I get even uncomfortable when the coaches want to talk about the players sometimes. I've been lucky that it's been okay, but I prefer to say that we do their contracts and we manage the players.
Yeah.
And I haven't had too many players whinging about them, but they'll always do it a bit. But maybe you look on the other side and you can put the case forward to the coach and say, hey, have you thought of this one? Or
I was just thinking, when you mentioned Damien Hardwick, what an amazing coach he's been. And then Tommy Lynch, obviously mates of both of ours. And I thought, well, if he's leaving Gold Coast, surely it's a Dimmer. I've got an absolute weapon that's going to leave. And it must be easy to do the deal.
Well, last year I laugh at this. We've managed Adam Cherr and George Hewitt. They chose Carlton without a coach.
Yeah.
So there's so many trades that go through. I think, look, that was not a tough one, but it was a pitch, and they're big boys, these guys. They'll make their call in the end. We might narrow it to 3, but he chose Richard. I think it wasn't a bad move, was it?
Well, it worked. I think he got a flag within 12 months and kicked a few.
He was pretty important in it.
He was. He's a superstar. I want to go to before I ask you some questions about sports management, and then we've got a few funny ones and a few curly ones, but show me the money.
Yeah.
I finally watched the doco because I told you I wanted to watch it fresh before we spoke. What an amazing documentary, really.
Yeah.
They have captured, who you guys are, which is really hard. I've watched the test, Drive to Survive. I'm a big one on these docos. Hard Knocks in NFL is one of my favourites, and I'm huge on the AFL. If they want to give me the phone, take me to the Giants. I'd love to get some of them boys and their personalities, but I loved it. I thought it was great. You were quite low key, which I noticed. Robbie was
a bit part player.
Yeah, big part.
Robbie was front and centre.
Yeah, Robbie was front and centre. He was wheeling and dealing.
Had to watch out.
You had a few features though. I definitely loved your tan. You look very good. I reckon there was a bit of a little bronzing session before, maybe a Thailand trip before.
Yeah.
The London Tavern though, the Peking Duck had me going. You were walking around
Peking Duck,
champagne.
People only mentioned two things: how bad my golf swing was, and the Peking Duck. Great stories behind the Peking Duck, because even it's not often the London hotel, the London Tavern, a great pub.
Went there the other week actually, beautiful tub.
It's normally it's better for its Parma or its Scotch fillet, as opposed to the Peking Duck. Even Bill, the owner, was trying to give me some, the Hosian sauce, whatever it is. He was giving me soy sauce. Like, Bill, it's not that sauce. Yeah. Anyway, if I wasn't doing it, Geesh and Freezer were asleep at the wheel. I'm a good host. I've always got this theory that it's not easy. And if it was easy, everyone would do it. I could, if I left this job, I'm available for hosting and running parties.
It just shows the man, no ego over here, ladies and gentlemen.
Cold. The beers have got to be cold.
It's a great initiative to get all the players there. But back to the documentary, because it happened at the Giants when I was there my last year with Cogs and the club.
Oh, yeah.
So I did see what it's like.
Yeah.
How many cameras were following you and how long were they following you for?
It wasn't as big as that. So we were just moments. We were really lucky. We had a really good crew that Doss and his crew were following us around. They probably followed me on the wrong day in the golf. I'm still a bit bleeding about that. But they were good. I was pretty intense at times. They said something like they filmed 300 hours to get 3 hours. They're just looking at whether they can get it going for again.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my next question. Are they going to do this again?
I think they're looking at it, and if they do, it's just for the trade period. But I think they're speaking to Stan at the moment about that.
Yeah, they will. They should do it. It was really good. Now, Colin Young, you and Colin Young have had beef over in the past. Yeah. Now, I love Colin Young. Yeah. I've always, obviously, you're my man, but Colin, he's mates with a lot of my mates. Yeah. Like, he manages a lot of them, and we're
broken bread.
You're broken bread?
Yeah, we're mates now.
You're mates?
Yeah.
So, like Nick Kyrgios and Djokovic, is it together?
Completely like that. We're bromance now.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so we didn't for a while. Cole's a bit scary.
He's a big man, Cole.
Yeah, but now and his son Logan, I'd manage Logan. That Logan. He got drafted. He's a good player, Logan. He actually came over to Melbourne from Perth and played for Sandy Dragons, and he's on West Coast top up. But we've got a little bit of a bromance going, and his boss, or not his boss, his work colleague, I'm close with as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, he's a very funny man,
yeah,
Cole.
He's funny.
I thought he's
the tight tees.
Yeah. He's the Ari Gold, really. He looks a bit. He reminds me of Ari, and he was quite a. I just love. I think he's made for these docos.
He's made for it.
Mate, he's been working. How old's Cole now? I mean, he's been working 20, 30 years in this industry for this moment. Yeah. I think Cole needs to be on the next one again.
He's the first person they'll sign.
Yeah. Oh, he's brilliant. Your golf swing though, it was a huge issue because I know you love your golf, right? And I called Dommy Tyson before and I said, we're going to have to get the great man some clutching co because he needs to be a bit more clutch around the greens. What happened? Because you are a good golfer. I
just choked. Well, a horrible swing, is it? But I've got a bad back, so I always have a half swing anyway. And I don't know, I'm a lot better than the golf swing shows. Well, I'm not that good. My handicap's about 17.
It's still good.
And look like 47 on that day. But I'm a bit of a competitor, so I just...
Did they dog you? Like, did you reckon they've taken a couple of miss swings and you've had a few crackers?
I'd say the next time I played Kingston Heath, I shot the lights out, but it's no good.
Well, we're organising a golf day here at the Ausmerican Aces. I've been saying it for a while. You are getting an invite. All guests get an invite, and I'm
a 123rd guest, though. So
no, you're not. You're not. I think you're like 40th, and I told you I got to build the 40th. base. I got to build the base, mate. I can't just bring in the heavy hitters at the
40.
start. You're number one in the agent though. That's all that matters.
I've beaten Rich Paul. That's all that matters.
Exactly right, mate. That's funny. Yeah. Well, that golf day, you'll be there and you'll get you bring
You'll
Robbie.
have to get Cole on. He would be pretty good.
Cole would be great. I mean, if you can fly down, I'm sure the great man would make it. Let's go to sports management questions because this is important. A lot of people, I've got the responsibility here to ask, everyone that messaged me on Instagram, I appreciate it. Sports management.
Did you get no messages? No,
I got heaps. So it's great. Mate, you're the man around town. And I said to Paul, can you share this? He said, what the fuck am I sharing? You get all the followers. People love you, mate. And a lot of people are interested. Now, these might be a bit heavier, but this is good because we haven't spoken about some big trades. What's the biggest trade that you've done?
Biggest or the best? The best?
I think I've got two questions here about another part of a trade. So I've got the most difficult trade across the line for your client and what is the biggest. So let's just go biggest and best.
There's two sides to that. The biggest and best, let's say Juddy might have been the biggest because it was just so big and such a big story for him to leave West Coast. He was premiership captain. He was a Brownlow medalist, just loved. But in my heart, he was always coming home and John Worsfold knew it. But it caused angst. It caused angst for a long time.
You mean like relationships with the West Coast Footy Club?
Absolutely, yeah. But I don't think, and it's my job, don't lie. Don't lie, tell the truth. Might not like the truth, but don't lie. And that was a bloody hard trade because you didn't have future picks. You couldn't go pre-season. So in many respects, you couldn't just get this year's first round and next year's. Carlton, in my heart, I wanted him to go to Carlton. He wanted to go to Collingwood at one stage when we left the meeting. I'm like, you can't go to Collingwood. They can't do the deal in my head.
Yeah.
Carlton, and history says the trade worked out all right. Yeah. Josh Kennedy's just kicked his 700th goal.
I noticed that in the weekend.
Yeah, life's pretty good. It's worked out well, and that's the trades you want to do, a win-win. It's only now that you still say it's a win-win, and it is a win-win because Juddy really helped, Carlton when they were down the bottom and just culturally helped them too. That was the biggest, I reckon, and the tension on it. And
describe the tension for me. What was
not
happening?
Just tension, but the meetings, and you had the footy show was back then. Like the footy show was around. So stupidly, we had one meeting with Carlton at Raheen where Dick Pratt lived, and it's the famous Pratt House. And I remember Channel 9, we stupidly had the meeting on a Thursday because we then went to Carlton afterwards. There's footage of Juddy, me and Greg Swan walking across the oval. But we've been to Raheen, the footy show's, capturing us. And it was just intense and big and news and huge. And the other one was Josh Kennedy's probably the best trade. He's gone from Hawthorn. I didn't probably understand how his dad was a Hawthorn premiership player, multiple. His grandfather's the legend of Hawthorn. For him to leave Hawthorn, I was like, it's a no-brainer. But for him, I was like, this is the biggest decision of his life. And to be fair, Alistair Clarkson was really good when Josh left. But hindsight says pick 35 or something wasn't probably fair. I think it was Josh and McGlynn were going, and Hawthorn were great about it. But,
Sydney won that one.
Well, he's a Hall of Famer, isn't he, Josh Kennedy? Yeah. He's the most consistent player you've ever seen.
Yeah, and he's still playing now, and they're looking like being right up there again. Yeah. So, that's great. There's some great insights into the trades. Just on the Juddy deal, when did you start that process? Because people, when you're doing such a big deal, clearly it's a bit like it's hanging over for the year. They're out of contract. Yeah. When did Juddy go? I'm done.
I sort of knew when he signed his last deal that'd be it. So we were working really in the off season. I reckon he might have even given John Worsfold a hint that this was his last year and he was going to go home, but. He kept it pretty professional. He got injured. He was injured that last year, so he probably didn't perform at the heights he would have liked in that last year.
Mm-hmm. Does that affect his currency, or you already had that deal? You had the deal done.
Yeah, the deal wasn't done. No, he was really interesting. To be fair, he hadn't done. He met the clubs, so he met. Melbourne didn't have a facility at that stage. So I thought it was Collingwood, Carlton, Melbourne, and then Essendon were desperate to meet. So Essendon didn't have a coach. Melbourne presented. He barracked for Melbourne as a youngster. He loved Gary Lyon. So they all had their little spiel. They were, they were right in at Melbourne. But I think then it became the last two, and I didn't think Collingwood could do the deal. And Juddy became, the more he liked it, the more he came of, hey, I want to start something from bottom up, as opposed to Collingwood, and he was the cherry on top. Yeah. So that's what appealed to him.
Does he look back now and wish he went to Collingwood or not?
No, I think he's pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon he's pretty comfortable.
It's great insight, mate. I really appreciate that. What does it take to become a player agent, manager? What is the terminology? Is it agent or manager?
I think it's agent, but I like the word manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does it take? Like, what do you have? Obviously, you have to be built differently. You have to, I'd imagine.
Maybe.
Thick skin?
Yeah, definitely thick skin. You've got to, you've got to be able to move on quickly, like have a fight and move on. Like don't hold grudges, just have a blue, pull, next one. Because let's say I was having a fight with West Coast, which I wasn't wanting to, but next year I've got Nick Natanui or there's someone else coming in, there's another trade to do. So you can't stay, the clubs can't stay upset at us for too long and vice versa, we can't.
Yeah.
Just roll. And you've got to be thick skinned, you've got to work hard.
Yeah.
You've got to really want it. And I think you've got to, you've got to have a real thirst for it and now if I look back, it's empathy, it's the players go through some hard, it's bloody tough. And now with social media and the media, it's we don't love a good story, we don't like the good parts, we just like when they can't get a kick or they've done something wrong off field.
It is a bit frustrating now that I do a little bit of this. It's mainly positive. I don't like touching on the negative, but the negative, unfortunately, is what gets headlines and it's what people make all their bread and butter, their money on, their advertising dollars. It's, I think it's slowly turning. I reckon people are starting to get sick of it. I think the younger generation is starting to say, mate, just get over it. Like, leave that alone. We don't really give a stuff. But
but the media, they
love it.
Yeah, they love it, and they like.
Like, for example, the other day I saw Dusty was walking out and he got interviewed and he didn't speak, right? And I was at home watching the news. I don't watch too much of it, but I don't see an issue with that at all. And it's almost a sign like, why the fuck do I have to speak? But it's almost, then they try to twist it into a negative. But then it's on the television for ages. And
of course, we've also got to have things to talk about.
I know, but it's, can't we talk about I don't know why.
The positives are, it's the most amazing season. Do you know what I mean? It really is. But, we're going to be talking about North not going well or, whoever it is. It's like we don't care that the race for the eight's on. The race for the flag is now well open. This is big. This is every game right now is huge. And I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the draw going, what's on this week?
Yeah.
And that's part of loving footy and loving what I do.
And they just know, but unfortunately, we can't cover that because this makes more news.
No, I suppose the one good story, I was at the Gold Coast, as I said, watching Richmond.
Oh, what a finish.
Richmond Gold Coast, and I was filming it actually.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there. I was right behind
there,
Noah Anderson, lucky enough to manage Noah. And,
do you manage Noah?
Yeah, and I became a bit of and I grew up barracking for Richmond, but Noah did too. I remember going to the 2019 grand final with Noah.
Wow.
And barracking strong for Richmond, the two of us, like he was barracking really strong. And then fast forward a few years and he's kicking a goal against the team he barracked for.
It was a great moment. I watched it and he even said that in the post. What was going through your head? He's talking about under 13s.
Yeah, I love that too, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It's a dream come true, really.
Yeah.
It was a clutch kick.
Yeah.
I don't know if it did it wobble
Don Tyson might have. No, it didn't wobble. Went bang.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It just
no wobbling.
It's funny that what's his name? What's the guy that went to the Suns? The NRL player.
Oh, Carmichael Hunt.
Yeah, it was Carmichael Hunt. He kicked the winning goal against Richmond as well. It's like Richmond have been rolled twice now on the siren by the Suns.
I think Dimmer was coached there too.
Oh, Dimmer, he would have been spewing. Back to some more questions.
Yes.
Who is the best school football player that you've ever seen? So when you're watching all this school footy, they might not be the best AFL player, but the best school footballer you've ever seen.
Well, if it goes back in time, it's a guy called Cameron O'Brien who played for Zavs. I remember a day, he's now living in the States. He just came back. I missed him, but he came back the other week. Best footballer you've ever seen. He's built like Tarzan. He played for the Brisbane Bears.
Okay.
And he didn't have as good a football career, but he had three players hanging off him. He'd just take marks and stand alone, one of the great school footballers I've ever seen.
There you go.
Brendan Goss would like me to say him, but Cameron O'Brien just gets him.
There you go. What about the last 15 years, so more the millennials can relate to?
Oh, who never went on with it?
Oh, no, they could have went on with it. It's just more...
well, Juddy was just...
At school.
Next level, yeah. He was crook. And I remember... Jared Healy talking about it on radio, saying there's this 15-year-old out of Caulfield who's a star. His dad did go to Xavier too, so we're a bit flat he didn't come to us. He was amazing. Yeah, there were some good players. It's a good question, but Juddy was one of the next level best players you've seen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just an absolute superstar, Juddy. Where is the best place to start in order to get into sports management and the industry if you're out there?
I think it's hard to start on your own. You're trying to get a job at a footy club even and then progress, or go work for one of the companies in recruiting. So you might go and watch some of the under-18 games, write reports, learn your craft there. But I think the easiest path, and it's not easy, because I always say when people come and speak to me, is think bigger picture than just AFL player management. So if it's sports management, that's better. It's bigger and there's more jobs, and then you might find your way into player management. But if you can broaden your horizons, and I think that's good.
Is Connor sports management thinking outside of AFL, or are you staying in that lane?
Staying in the lane, yeah.
I thought that.
Yeah, I dabbled for 1 minute into cricket. Had a few people I knew, the great Zach Evans and Will Sutherland. I was like, if I sign them. Zach played with my son. I was just with him the other week, and when they didn't sign with me, I went, stick to your lane, son. But if I can't sign them, then I'm in trouble.
Little reality check.
It was a slap in the face.
Jeez, that would have been. You move on though. You take the punch and move on. The best tips for young new managers, you just kind of touched on it, but if they're in the industry, they have cemented themselves. What is a little tip you'd give them? Just
keep working hard. Go to as many games as possible. Understand that this is not a 9-to-5 job. Have empathy. I think they're the keys.
It's brilliant. Hardest list manager to deal with. I didn't want to ask this question if you didn't feel comfortable with, but I felt like there might be a mutual respect where you both love a negotiation. And if there's one, who would it be, or who could have it been? They might not be there anymore.
Oh, that's easy if they weren't there.
Yeah, maybe go who's not there, because then...
Not there. No, I could go, go on,
rip in.
Rip in. Oh, Craig Cameron's tough at Gold Coast.
Gold Coast?
I'm just staring. Him and Jace McCartney, they're Gold Coast and GWS.
Well, you managed Jace, yeah?
Yeah, but he's tough to deal with. I remember, a trade period we were trying to trade, and I gave him a little elbow on the way in the hallway. He goes, is that the best you've all got? Is that the best you got, mate?
That's brilliant. Yeah. I remember I was negotiating mine at the end of my career. I actually called the meeting. Yeah. I said, boys, come here. I'm having an absolute mare here, and I want to be out of this hub soon. Am I getting a deal? And they said, we can't tell you till Jan or whatever. Yeah. I said, well, I'm fucking done. I'm done. He does run a tight ship, doesn't he?
A tight ship.
Still can't believe they got rid of Jesse Cameron, but that's another story. He's a great man, and Jace, he'll come on this podcast because he's got an incredible story.
He does.
Probably one of the most incredible stories. So you're saying that Gold Coast and Giants, the two clubs, the guys that run that.
We've got mutual, good relationships.
So a bit of banter there.
A little bit, and
I love that. I love the fact you gave him a little nudge walking past. Yeah. You wouldn't want to get too close to him.
Ask him if he comes on the podcast now. You would have thought, a little Mozzie's just bitten him on the, that's what he said. The boy from Nil.
He's a big boy, Jace, I can only imagine. What skills do you need to have it to make it as a player manager? So the actual skill set.
I think the accounting sides really put me in good stead, but that doesn't mean I think everyone's got their skill set. So what do you bring, and just stay true to that. So Nick Geishan, who works for us, he's got his own skill set, and if I was managed by Nick, I'd love it. He's got this beautiful nature where he does it his way, and Robbie does it his way, and I do it mine, and we're all a bit different. And I think collectively, where we combine, and then the girls, let's not underestimate how, we've got a different approach, and we're a team approach, and I think it really, the team stuff sets us apart.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Then this is a good one, because I know you saved me one day. There's the clauses in contracts. There's a lot of them, and you are the king of this. Yeah. I know Josh Kelly had an amazing one, but what are some interesting clauses that go into contracts that people out there just have no idea about, if you were to name a few of them?
I think at the moment you're negotiating some contracts when you don't know what the salary cap's going to be in advance. So that's probably a standard one. The new, which I think should be, if you make the instead of just all Australian, but the all Australian squad of 40. I mean, that's a wonderful achievement.
So that should be an incentive?
I reckon. Yep. Yeah. And some don't like it because others choose it. Well, I go, I don't love your best and fairest clause.
They're corrupt. They're corrupt, mate.
Well, we've got a theory that if you're listening AFL House, that you should, and this is Mel will claim it, but we've discussed it, that once you do your votes, put them in, every week they should be submitted to the AFL.
Yeah. So they can't tweak them late.
Can't tweak them.
Because how many times, and all the boys that know this, how many times has someone got a top 5 or a top 10?
They'll stand firm. It's never happened
and they come
ever.
6th or 11th, and it's like, wow, I've seen it, and I go, geez.
We had a clause, Daisy Thomas had a clause about playing X amount of games in the last year, and if he did, he'd get X, and he was ahead of the game. He's like, let's rip that up, and let's go and discuss that, and let's take it off the table. It was the smartest thing he did.
Yeah.
And combined, we did that. We took it off the table and went and played freely. Like, because if he's playing, they're going to have to pay him X, and it was probably more than they'd want to. So, hey, we understand that. Let's do it.
Can't play games like.
No, it was great.
It's funny that you got me I think I got a 15K bonus because of you, and I didn't realise it, and I blew it all in Europe because it's a funny story. I remember I had a shocking year, 2018. I just couldn't get a game, and I played 13 games.
Yeah.
But I had a 12-game bonus and a 14-game bonus because of you.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, it was a 15K bonus for both of them.
Yeah.
And I knew I hadn't hit the 14 and I was filthy. And we had to do our exit interviews. And I remember sitting down with the guy at the time, and I was carryover emergency, and I missed a waffle game.
Yeah.
And it converted on the incentives. It had to be ticked off as a game.
Yeah.
So he goes, just letting you know, mate, you hit your incentives. And I went, what was that? Yeah. And he goes, you've actually ticked. I go, called me, mate, and he's near London. I said, mate, I've just fucking booked me flights. I'm blowing the whole thing because I was out of contract. I needed to go spend some cash and have some fun. So thank you for that, mate. You are the king of these clauses, and that was another one. TPP at the time.
TPP's
what was that? What was it stand for?
It's just total player payments. It's the salary cap clause
at the time.
If you don't know if the salary cap's going to be
up or down.
Up or down. So and I'm a believer. If it goes down, I'm happy to take the hit. But if it goes up, like, give us the upside.
Yeah.
And clubs are a bit unreluctant to give all of it. They like to keep 3. I'll keep you take what's above, I'll give you 3%.
Yeah. What other clauses? Don't have to name the players, but what other clauses can go in? Or are they secretive, these clauses?
A little bit secret.
Oh, they are.
You don't want to tell.
Oh, the IP. I don't want to be giving out the IP.
Yeah, Robbie and Geesh wouldn't be happy with
the bloody Connors management right now. Bloody, don't say them, Paul. We're going to move on now. I don't want to give away the IP.
Yeah.
The most rewarding player or situation you've seen someone go through? Deep question. So a most rewarding player or a situation you've seen someone go through. Now, for me, if I was answering it while you're thinking, I'm thinking maybe it's a player that was just out on their feet and then they come back and they win a premiership, or maybe it's, I don't know, they've had a tough career now, they're dominating off field. I don't know, but
well, there's a couple.
Yeah,
Luke Ball goes from St Kilda, where he plays in a grand final. He's out of favour with your mate Roscoe. I interviewed Ross recently. I love him. I should have asked him about you. I forgot to. And goes and plays in a premiership the next year at Collingwood. So that's one, and he's gone on to, I mean, he wasn't down and out, but he certainly was at the crossroads and had to go. And talk about loyal. No man more loyal than that. The most recent, and this has been 2 years in the making. This is Robbie. This is team effort. But, I think as a company, we're really proud of Will Brodie and what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
What he's doing at Fremantle. And, I think it goes to show, like I'm talking about it's not against any other club, but a lot of clubs just don't. They always worry about what you can do, what you can't do instead of what you can do. He doesn't kick it that well. He doesn't do it. But what about the 15 things he does really well?
Yeah.
So Will Brodie's a great story. He wasn't like he was out. He just it's the way of the future. It's salary cap. James Clement went from Fremantle to Collingwood and became a superstar. There's 1,000 great trade stories. I think that our idea, not idea, but we stand by. We've got to keep players in jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to keep them in jobs as long as possible, and that's staying ahead of the curve. Aliir got traded 1 year before his contract. Swans had salary cap issues. They were just a bit unsure of where to play him. Bang, he goes to Port Adelaide. He's all Australian. Not even all Australian, and beautiful person and happy, and life's great. But didn't want to leave. Loves all his Swannies, but you
got to say, mate, up the road.
This is what you should do.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Will Brodie.
Yeah.
I reckon I should have taken commission for that. I reckon I helped that one.
Yeah.
David Walls, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. Great man. I remember seeing the...
Pumped him up.
I just remember seeing... We were playing against each other in the hub. And I said, what are you doing playing the seconds? We saw each other.
Yeah.
in Gold Coast. And I said, mate, I reckon Freo would just snap you up. They need an inside mid. And I've told Matt Tabernar, Griffin Logue, I'm claiming him.
Good.
Because I told Wolsey, you got to get this bloke. He's a top 10 pick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
So I'm like, why isn't he playing? Yeah. And the reason I said this is because he burnt me in one of those 14 scratchies. I said, who the fuck is that? And I realised he's a top 10 pick and he's not getting a game at the Suns. At the time, I was a bit confused.
Oh, I've got a great mate. You know Killer?
Paul. Yeah.
Well, his brother-in-law's cuz David Cully, and him and I and Simon Gullick got a little WhatsApp group or a little group chat, and when I go to Perth, I've got to take Will out to dinner with him because it's the Will Brodie love fest.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well,
he's gone from Gold Coast where not a soul knew him to probably taking autographs, signing autographs every day.
It's one of the greatest trades of all time. And Mickey Barlow won't be happy because I think he's broken all his records in his first year. So well done to the great man. Yeah. What's the most difficult trade that you got across the line? Did you touch on that earlier about Juddy? Was that the most difficult?
That was tough. That was big. But some of the most difficult ones are the ones that happened late.
The little ones.
Yeah. Richard Hadley was late to Carlton, and Peter Watt. There's so many that just happened late or just parts to it. So go back to Josh Carr, not Josh, but Matty Carr left St Kilda to go to Fremantle. It was way back. That means you're a bit old, Kari. But I remember there were moving parts and Callahan had to leave to go somewhere, and it was a great trade because Matty went on to do really good things at Freo and is really happy back home.
Yeah.
They're all pretty tough, but there's some that are just whew.
Are they harder now or easier now with future picks being swapped?
I think they're easier now.
Because you've
got future picks. And if you don't get traded, if you're out of contract, you've got the national draft you can go. So Chris Judd couldn't have gone the national draft. He had to go pre-season, or he goes, he did what he did, got traded. And you can't trade future picks.
Yeah.
If you've got future picks, it's easier.
Do you want mid-season trading?
Yeah.
So are you saying we're behind the game? Do you think we need to be more like American sport?
Oh, I love the loyalty factor of AFL.
Well, it's kind of going out the park. It's kind of going.
Yeah, I think the more ability for players to move,
the more chaos, the better.
Oh, not just that. Just I'm a freedom. I'm free agency at 6 years. 5. I think if free agency was 6 years, there's a lot more. It'd be better for both clubs and players.
Do you think it's more loyal if it's like that as well because they tie them up quicker?
Well, I just think, maybe, but I just think 6 years free agency I thought 6 years restricted, 8 years unrestricted would be a really good step as well. I just think more movement is better. Like if you work at the National Australia Bank, you can just go over to Westpac if you like. I mean, we're really restricted.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got a good culture and you're playing, again, I get back to players don't move. If you've got a good culture, they don't move.
Yeah.
They move because of opportunity, or there's clubs won't admit there's obviously something's gone wrong.
And that's the thing. You sometimes do see players that just can't get a game. They're dominating seconds. It makes sense to move them halfway because then they get a game and you don't lose much.
Oh, agreed.
I like it. I think
it may not be a lot of movement, but if there is, have the ability to do it.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. And it's exciting. I think someone was telling me the other day that this trade week is the most rated shows of all time. So if we get it in the season, it's only going to cause more headaches and more, I guess, you featuring on the front page of the Herald Sun more frequently. Righto. Funny and random questions. Okay. I really appreciate that, mate. That's great insight for everyone out there that wants to be in your shoes. I want to know, well, it's not really funny, but who do you think will be the highest paid player in 5 years and how much do you think they'll be on if you were to predict 5 years' time?
5 years' time, I think a key forward, Aaron Norton, Max King, Ben King.
I was going to say the King brothers. And what do you reckon they'd be taking in by then?
5 years' time?
Yeah.
1.3
each.
million? Yeah. Still not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is your favourite player you coach in your son's Glen Iris cricket team?
Oh.
You have to name one.
Who's the favourite player?
Yeah.
Benny McDonnell.
There you go, Benny.
Was it Benny who asked?
I don't know who asked. I mean, I do, but I didn't write it down.
No. Benny McDonnell, not you, Das. You hurt my thumb.
Just on that, what is your win-loss ratio as a Sunday turf skipper at the Glen Iris Cricket Club?
Oh, horrendous last year. We missed the finals.
Oh, no.
I'm in trouble.
Just blame some players. Who let you down?
Oh, I reckon Hazem Alko didn't play enough. Well, I found out that he was a bowler, so it could be my fault. I thought
so the coach has got him as a first
had him as a batter, but he's come in the last few games and just dominated. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
We're trying to go one more time, but my big son's reluctant a bit, Charlie Connors.
Oh, that is brilliant.
I might have to pay him to play. How's that?
Under the table job on the napkin. This one's a little funny one because I'm going to ask a few things from players' point of view. But has there ever been a simple life admin task request from a player that you that you should think that they'd be doing themselves? And what was it?
There's a million.
Oh no! What are the key themes? Don't name them. But what are the things that sometimes you get called up from players, probably young players, and saying, "Hey, Paul, can you do this for me?"
Oh, it's no. I tell you, the biggest issue of this year is boots because you can't get boots anywhere. So,
Really?
So I'm like, if another player wanted to, we've got this rule. Let's say, Aaron Norton rang me and said, "Hey, I want to move managers because I can't get in boots." We're saying, "Sorry, Aaron, you can't come." You got to think of another reason, but it can't be boots. Yeah.
Why the boot shortage?
It's just in life, like with supply and demand. With freight.
I get it, mate. The Sunnies, they're sitting on a bloody ship out.
Well, there you go. So it's the Sunnies. I speak to my mate in the iron. He makes iron fences and that. Like, it's just hard. Everything's more expensive. It's hard to get.
There you go, boys. Make sure
but
you
lots of there's some funny ones.
Give me a real
Toby Green's a bit.
Oh, come on, I got one on Toby. He goes, "Tell Paul to flick me 500." And what people don't understand is you've got a great, the financial king. You do look after players' money, and Toby is, and like me and myself, we make sure we're on an allowance, and we always tend to blow it. Yeah. So, do you want to talk about what systems you do set up and why?
Oh, we just like to have the boys. Well, they get a lot of money. They're 18, 19, so. Predominantly we'd like them to be on a weekly allowance, and we'll fight the good fight on, what that allowance should be. And if you're interstate, you might get a bit more. I've got club captains still on these allowances, and it works well. Brilliant. Yeah, so
there you go, Tobes. I've just told him we're going to flick 500 in your account, mate.
It's coming here tomorrow, mate.
It's so funny. It's fun. What is the process when a player is blowing all their cash? What would you do?
The best one. Okay. Well, it's better when the families are involved and you can get mum and dad and, they can be involved. But Robbie stresses that I stress so much. So I do stress. It's like,
you're like the financial advisor. You're the man.
It feels like it's coming out of my bank account. I'm like, I lose sleep on it, So I am a bit obsessed when people are. And it's really just sitting down. I do say it's your money, but, if I was you, I'd just be like, cash is king, and can we buy a house? And I try my best anyway.
You are very good, and this is where it's funny you said that because you did go to my parents once. Yeah. I'm 21. I got excited. I think I played a few games that year, and I went to America.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, COVID was a win because you all couldn't go overseas. So
I know. The players would have saved a lot of money the last few years. Yeah. And I went to America at 21.
Yeah,
I thought booths are a good idea. I blew some ridiculous amount of money. Yeah. And I'll never forget, you called a meeting with my mum and dad, and I tell you what, that spreadsheet that you got up wasn't as healthy as I would have liked. And I look back now and I think, fuck, probably the booths were worth it. Yeah. But geez, I probably didn't have to get everyone every night. Yeah. So
you were just too nice. Yeah, you would have been good if the boys if they had have done their share.
Oh, it was a
you and Toby are peas in a pod.
Yeah, so it's time to save now. Yeah. We've got time though. We've got time on our sleeves.
Bloody oath.
But if just on that, what is one thing that you think players spend way too much cash on? It could be something stupid. It could be something common. What is it?
Overseas trips is one.
Overseas trips?
No doubt. Clothes. Just stupid clothes.
Clothes. Yep. Tick that box.
every brand. And not Sunnies, though. You can never spend enough money on Sunnies.
You can claim the sunglasses, boy.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
Prescription. You can claim them.
I love that. Rick's sunglasses, if you're asking.
so literally overseas trips and clothes are just
and just making mistakes, parking fines and speeding fines. Parking fines are the one that kills you.
Don't get me started on a parking fine, mate.
Have you heard of Pay Stay? It's like it's easy. You just pay like people, and that's deductible. Parking's deductible. Parking fines aren't.
Yeah, well, they're definitely not.
And also, it just kills me when I read the reports, and it's like, just a little wrestling fine, $2,000. You wouldn't believe what people get 2,000 fines for. $2,000 for a fine.
Well, I live with Toby. I know the fine system very well.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job managing the great man. You've been everywhere with him. I was going to use that cover photo of you two walking out of the tribunal hearing. It's a great photo.
I loved smile off on it that way.
No, you're very serious.
Serious.
All right. The best bloke you manage, you have to pluck one.
Now?
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah. I'll go past and now.
Okay. The best bloke, it's like there's a couple of queries, parameters this. Best bloke, who'd marry, daughter, there's so many different ones. But Tommy Lynch Richmond, Tommy Lynch Adelaide and North Melbourne. And,
Lynchy, one of the boys are going, you beauty.
Tommy Lynch is but Tommy's retired, so he couldn't be him.
Yep.
He's in my cricket team, Tommy Lynch, by the
wow.
way. That's
He'd be a bowler, wouldn't he?
Tommy Lynch is everything. That's Adelaide, North Melbourne, now. But Tommy Lynch Richmond, because everyone doesn't like him on the field, but you won't meet a better bloke.
Oh, yeah. Ripper.
I actually bumped into his mum and dad in Gold Coast, and I felt compelled. So I know your son's a good bloke, but he's a really good bloke.
There you go.
I don't want to pump him up too much, but others. Will Hoskin-Elliott's the nicest bloke in Australia.
He is.
And there's many more.
We love the fact you've plucked one. There you go. Tommy Lynch, well done. All right. The funniest, quirkiest, most unique player you've managed?
Tommy Sheridan.
Outside of me.
Funniest, quirkiest.
And unique.
Oh, unique. Tommy Lynch, Adelaide would be in there for unique. and quirky. There's a few. I'll have a think. I'll come back to you. Sorry, great man. Gee, hard question.
I'm wondering, there's only a few more. I'm wondering if you have a discount code or a membership card at the Cafe Dome in WA.
Well, I haven't been to Dome for a while. I love Dome. I love Dome. I love Giorgio's Cafe here. Robbie just hated, like all of them did. I love Dome, mate, just because it wasn't as trendy. I get clipped by Freezer for taking him to all the boring cafes. I used to sit in Dome for 12 hours there in Subi. I could have meeting after meeting after meeting. Yeah.
I remember we couldn't wait to see you, and I'm thinking, fuck, where were you meeting? And you're like, mate, do you want to meet me at Dome? And Subi, I go, mate, I'm milking that card and we're not going to Dome. And we'd go there every now and then. So when we had dinners, I made sure we picked some really nice restaurants.
Some dinners, if I reflect back on some of the dinners, one dinner was funny. It was Jason Saddington's time.
Jace,
yeah. He's been at the Giants Academy. Well, it was his turn to pick a dinner for the Swans boys. It was Craig Bolton, Goodsy, Saturday. No, but he chose this RSL, I reckon, and it was literally $4.50 for a Parma and pasta, and I reckon the bill was about $14. I'm like, how good is this? How good is this? As opposed to, we went to Squire's Loft once, and I reckon the great Marley Williams might have ordered about 6 kilos of ribs. The ribs are good at Squire's Loft, though.
They're very good. That's fun. That's very fun. You would have loved Jace taking you to one of those places. Does it get like, it obviously must be a huge expense to the business, trying to draft players and then keeping him happy.
Yeah. But
it's part of the deal.
Yeah, that's what we go, like, we probably, that's why we always say we've got nearly better relationships with our interstate players than our Melbourne, because you can get sucked into just being behind your desk in Melbourne. So you've got to keep learning to get FaceTime and get out and see your boys. But it's great though, the banter and just all the different dynamics.
It is good. It is good to get all the players together. And I remember the last time we've
got a few good ones like Gold Coast. They all know their favourites, and Etsu at Gold Coast.
Oh, the boys got you last time. We went to Toddy's in Sydney. That would have been a big bill.
Toddy's is good, isn't it? Yeah.
There's about 10 of us there as well. This one's from your kids, right?
Oh, what?
Archie.
I'm
going to name him.
Charlie didn't. Not Charlie. Archie.
I think he might, but Archie.
No, it's Archie. Cheeky one.
He goes, kiss one, marry one, and kill one. And I said, mate, I can't ask that. And I said, well, kissing one, marry one might be unique. So I'm just going to go straight to the hardest question. You have to abandon one of your kids. And which one would it be and why?
It wouldn't be Emmy. She's my eldest daughter, like not else. And I'd be easy. Well, I'm abandoning you, Arch, because you sleep too much, and you're hard work. So you're gone, Arch.
Archie, see you later, mate.
You're gone.
Well, just speaking of Arch, he's come back. He reckons, I want to know if this is true or false. Do you get a spray tan? Because you have the immaculate skin. We are in Melbourne. It's freezing. Have you got a spray tan here or there?
He is so pale. Like, we just go away to Gold Coast. He's looking at me going, how are you brown? I said, because I wake up and I get to the beach and I get sun, mate. You sit there, you're asleep till midday, you rock out for an hour trying to read his little English book, and then he gets exhausted and falls asleep. So no, but I'd love to get not a spray tan. Spray tans on blokes are just odd.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a spray tan and you're a bloke, I'm a natural. I've got a mate, David King, and we like the sun. A lot of our mates get whacked now because you've got to be sun smart.
Yeah.
I'm a good honest factor 6.
Yeah.
Factor 4.
I'm going to get into a few more things around the sun soon, which is so funny. All right, we've got 3 segments here. This is where our sponsors come in. Caps, the home of headwear. Place this on, great man. That's yours. Big shout out to Caps. You can wear it out. Oh yeah, you wear it however you want. How you'd wear it on the golf course or in Gold Coast.
Bigger head than that. Not too much
while you're adjusting that, anyone out there, we do know the discount code ACES is always on for 20% off and free express shipping from our friends at Caps.
How good. I love my caps. Paddy Ryder loves his caps.
We'll get one to Paddy. Now, are you a fan of the Bulls? You like the Bulls?
Yeah, I do. How can you not?
Yeah, I thought you'd like that one. Now, it goes with a nice salmon shirt you're rocking as well.
Pink. Real men wear pink.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. If you got it, flaunt it, big boy.
It's all wear pink and blue.
What is Paul Connor's Caps clanger?
You know, I did one, and it was at the start of my career. So it was West Coast were playing, I think, Collingwood, and for some reason I was young, naive, and I knew that Callum Chambers, it was a pre-season game though, and I knew one of the players wasn't in, and I told Collingwood that, hey, Callum Chambers or isn't playing, or David Haynes or Andrew Williams. I told him, gee, I got the biggest spray. And so Mick Malthouse knew people, or it was one of Mick Malthouse's giving me the greatest spray I've ever had, saying, you ever divulged, team information? So from that day on, I reckon I've known so many ins and outs, and I just shut up. I don't tell a soul. So it wasn't a whack. It was a whack.
What was he saying, Big
Just he's got that look and scary. And I was young, and I was shitting myself.
That's a cracker.
Shitting myself.
A bit of inside information. Yeah. They hate that. They love it, keeping it so secretive, don't they? Yeah. I don't know why. We would just tell us who's playing, and let's go head to head. That's a cracker. Let's flip the switch now. The Caps moment. The Caps moment is the greatest moment in your professional career. I know you've got more than one, but is there a moment that stands out working at Connors Sports where you just go, wow, that was special?
There's a couple. I reckon there's a recent draft, and this was team, because I love team, and it was a team thing where we signed, there's a great photo of Robbie and all the boys, and I love that when it's Robbie, and because it's and it was Jack Higgins, and it's Adam Chera, and it's Luke Davies-Uniacke, and we had Jaden Stevenson. There's about 10 or 8 players surrounding Robbie, and it was just a great draft. That was one. Then if I look back early, set the business up, to be managing Bawley, Juddy, Hodge, Polak, Bartel, then a bit later Goose McGuire and a few others. I missed Nick Del Santo just, and that set the business on its way, I reckon. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That is a fantastic Caps moment, and I think anyone that would have got Juddy and the boys on the books, that's a huge moment. Yeah. Now we go to Ricks and retirement. The Rixies. I've picked you a brand new pair here, the gloss black green polarized Grand.
Like that.
They will be perfect. Put them on, or? Chuck them on, great man. Ooh. This is I know where you love to travel, but look at we can just visualise you on the hill at West Coast training with the rig out.
I did used to like that.
I know you did. If there was a location... Thanks, mate. Yeah, we've been working hard. We've got a few coming. And Spring Carnival, I designed them purely for Spring Carnival.
Really?
With the black suit, Derby Day. And obviously Spring Carnival didn't go ahead, so...
Yeah, okay, they're real good.
That's you.
Okay. I don't know if I have to wear them.
You got to put them on just for this segment. I know it's a bit weird inside. No, like the Yanks. You can pull the hat back, I reckon. It might. Yeah, now we're talking. Look at the great man. So, Ricks in retirement, you have to pick a location.
Is this because I look silly? I'm just having a quick glance.
Oh, no, you look, take it. You look sexy in that, I reckon.
I don't think I do, but that's
I reckon you sign a few more young boys walking around like that. Under 16s
Only
carnival.
You could get me to do this, but anyway.
Pick a location in the world that you take your Ricks eyewear.
Yeah.
And you'd finish up, you'd retire. And why? Where would it be in the whole entire world? Once your sales, you might...
Can I give you 2?
You can give me 2.
So, New York. I'm just infatuated by New York and love it. Got a great mate who lives there. Just amazing. And, I'd be pretty happy at Noosa as well.
Noosa?
Yeah, I love Noosa.
So you got the cold New York.
Oh, it doesn't have to be always cold.
But it is warm sometimes. Yeah. But then Noosa's.
Yeah, just bliss.
Just tan.
Bistro Seats, my favourite restaurant, the National Park. Happy days.
There you go.
Surf club. Yeah, I'm pretty simple.
You are a simple man.
Yeah.
Just get the man a tan, a cricket bat on the beach. Yeah. That's you.
That's me.
There you go. Thank you, mate, for taking part in that. Ricks and retirement with Paulie Connors. We're closing in now, and I wanted to do something special for you. I you know how much I love you, but I wanted to make sure that people knew, a bit more about who you are from the, inside the four walls, like they like to say in the footy clubs. So I messaged some important people at Connors Sports Management.
Oh, shivers.
It's all positive, so you can relax. You can relax. I messaged Izzy, Georgie, Robbie, and I spoke to Mal quite recently, and I asked them 2 questions. Why do you love Paul? And Paul's best trait.
So they didn't love me.
They love you, mate. And this is why.
Okay.
Izzy said, I think there are definitely a lot of reasons as to why people love Paul, but the one that sticks out the most to me is probably how he goes above and beyond for not only the people he loves, but also for anyone who needs help in any way. He's always looking for a way to make people's day or help anyone out, even if it's just something small. He never expects anything back in return. It really is just a testament to the person he is.
Sure, that's nice by Iz.
Very nice, Iz. Couldn't agree more. I knew you'd love this segment.
Oh, gosh.
And then what's Paul's...
I'm a bit of a softie at heart.
Oh, we all are these days. Paul's best trait is, he said, his best trait would have to be his loyalty, closely second by his generosity. He loves buying me some lollies to get through to 5 p.m. on a Friday, even though he ends up eating majority of the packet himself. He also makes the work week a bit easier when your boss downs Red Bulls on a Monday. The Red Bull King, we'll soon find out. So there you go. There's the trait from Izzy's lenses. I spoke to Georgie, I said, why do you love Paul? She said, he is the best in the business. He's extremely generous. And he always makes time for people. His trait is he has no ego. A bit like before with the Peking duck, mate.
Yeah, no ego.
No ego there, walking around with the Peking duck.
Peking duck, though.
Oh, mate, if I was there, I would have smashed the plate. Spoke to Robbie. I said, why do you love Paul? Love him for his passion. He's close to him. He has a big heart. He's generous. And he loves an in the vault chat. His favourite trait, he loves his sugar-free Red Bulls. He smashes 4 a day. It gets the big fella going.
2, maybe.
Bit of mayonnaise on that. And I spoke to my great mate, Mel, who's over in London.
Yeah.
So why do you love Paul? Paul's the most humble person you ever meet, very caring, a strong family man. When it comes to negotiating a contract, there is no one better. Favourite traits, he loves to tan. He used to get his rig out at the West Coast training and sit on the hill and watch the boys train, and has an unhealthy obsession with Red Bull sugar-free drinks.
That's come through, hasn't it?
That's come through. And, mate, I must say, as I close, I probably haven't done it enough, but on behalf of me and my family, I wanted to say thank you. I must say it is a life-changing moment when a manager signs you up, but you're a bit nervous with who you go with. And if I didn't pick you, I wouldn't have met all the people I just read out, all the players that you manage and I've met. A lot of the people that you do see I hang out with and are friends are because of Connors Sports Management. So you are the best in the business, mate. I appreciate your time and,
You're a good
thanks
man.
for everything, mate.
Thanks, Tommy. You're a legend. And well done with this too. It's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. And all the best with some big trades coming on later in the year. I just saw a few big names in the paper this morning. So well done, mate, and thank you.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to another episode. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, please feel free to hit us up on our social channels at Ausmerican Aces. If you're entertained, inspired, or feel more educated, please share it with your friends and family because we appreciate the support. Righto, catch you on the next one.